Hello, everybody. A little more like. Hope everybody is all right. This looks good. Okay. And everything looks fine. Hopefully it's going to work well. Not to overdrive. Sometimes it's worse. It crackles. Hopefully it's going to be okay. So in the back here, it's KPH decode on the ESU on the background with 17016.8. I saw the post from MDK2 Matt, and it's not bad of a signal here too. Just earlier was the marine broadcast decode that I had on. So everything's all right. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's all right. So this is, of course, the monthly live show. And this is the place where we talk about radio every first Saturday of the month. And we just have fun. And my name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. We just enjoy radio and are a bunch of wonderful people that, share what is essentially a very solitary hobby. So it's kind of fun to have people to share with. And, there's a beautiful chat room if you want to join in. And the chat room is full of, I think, one of the greatest gang of radio that you can imagine. And this is, of course, the place to be. When all of this is over, we have a Facebook group, which has the same name as the official SWL channel. The official SWL channel on Shortwave has 45,000 subscribers. The Facebook group has about 3,500. And there's a lot of activity there, postings of people listening to radio or enjoying radio or sharing their thoughts on radio. So it's a lot of fun. And I think it's a great place to be. This is an ongoing community of really great people having fun with radio. So we're going to start. I'm going to have little things to talk about today. Of course, I'm going to talk a little bit about this guy, which I had that Andrew in Saint-Hubert, south of Montreal, gave me, which is really, really cool. And we're going to talk about John Figliuzzi's worldwide listening guide also. Give you a little bit of the idea of what this is all about. It's not for everybody, but it's if you're a content, if you like content, it's really, really cool. And so it's really nice to share all of this. I've got also a question on the email. I got a question. Which was very interesting, which is at any moment in time since I started radio, what was my favorite radio? Did I kind of jump to different radios over time? And kind of did, actually, especially in the 90s, but even today. So we're going to talk about that. And we, of course, going to answer the questions in the chat and talk about radio and have a lot of fun. So thanks for being here. It's always fun to be doing this show. For those that are paid, you have given a contribution somehow in the last 2 months. We were supposed to have our Zoom meeting on January 27th. I moved it to February 10th for different reasons, including the fact that for those that don't know, I have Mignon, which is the lost stray cat that started coming over here. That she started hanging around and all, and she passed away on Friday of last week. She actually died pretty much in front of me here, which was kind of very surprising and very, very quick. So for those that just want to have a little, didn't see Mignon, because a lot of you know Paul the cat, of course, which is great and fine. Actually, he kind of requires more attention since she's gone. I think he kind of realizes that she isn't there anymore. So for those that haven't seen what she looks like, this is the beautiful Mignon that passed away, for those that want to. And she was a really, really great cat. And I guess from what happened, she probably kind of had a heart attack. It was very quick, and like less than a minute, it was all over. She wasn't breathing anymore. So, it was sad, very sad moment. But at the same time, like a lot of people said, you took her out of the cold, and she enjoyed a few years of happiness thanks to the fact that she could come here. So rest in peace. I will. She got cremated, so I will be actually taking the hashes, and we'll be sprinkling the hashes in the backyard and the neighbor's yard where she was always hanging around. Kind of, an eternal moment of she's going to be there in some way where she was hanging out. So this is she was a great little cat, actually. So let's take a sip of this. Okay, Master Players Radio and Television Plus Gaming. Nice to have you here, Bobby, WA5107 SWL in Morgan City, Louisiana. Matt in Denver, Colorado. Nice to have you here. Snowy. So here we have some snow on the ground, but it's not, we're having a weird winter. Not very cold. We barely are even in the normals. We're almost always above normal. So it's kind of a warm winter here. And I was saying KPH is here. I could see the Morse code's coming here. 17016.8. Others Autocrafters Kitchen. Nice to have you on board. The Yacht Boy 400 is great radio. I'll be actually talking about it a little bit because it's one of the radios. I'll answer that question on the email. I owned one for a couple of years, and then moved on. But yeah. What else do we have? We have Dwayne. Nice to have you on board from Northeast Tennessee. Gary 24 fan. Nice to have you on board from a sunny and cold northern Maine. Been inconsistent with my visits, but hope to get more here more regularly. So yeah, it's life gets in the way sometimes. Rob's radio channel. Nice to have you on board, Dwayne. Nice to have you here. We have OG Railways. Nice to have you on board. OJ Railways. What else do we have? David's Radio Room. Nice to have you on board. Feeling a bit under the weather. Great moment to just relax and enjoy the show. Esteban, nice to have you on board from Gran Canaria, EA8DLJ. Nice to have you here from the Canary Islands. We have David P. Miller from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Nice to have you here. Richard Wagner. Nice to have you on board from Northeast Illinois. We have so Rob's Radio Channel. So I'm going to start doing some Sonys, bring them back to life again. RJDA Dakota. Nice to have you here from Wentzville, Missouri. WA0113. We have it's whoops, clicked on the wrong thing here. Let's go. Robert Varner, nice to have you here from New Jersey, KC2TEL. We have DX Swinger, nice to have you on board, Southeast Pennsylvania. We have Ricky Salut, nice to have you here, Ricky, from Calgary, Alberta. Snowy and drizzly, Calgary, Alberta. Joseph, nice to have you here from San Francisco Bay, California. And cool to have you here. K6SUD, nice to have you here. Matteo, nice to have you on board. Ricardo from Portugal, nice to have you on board. Bob D, nice to have you on board from Ottawa. Pretty cool to have everybody here. Axiom, nice to have you on board. And what do we have? Metalunar, almost forgot February started. Yeah, it's I don't know. I didn't even see January. I'm not even sure where it went. So yeah, actually add the box, the instruction manual, even the receipt when it was purchased, and the price paid. So definitely and well preserved too. I mean, it's there's no scratches, nothing on this radio. It was really well preserved. It belonged to his father, and his father passed away a couple of years ago, and he wanted to donate the radio, and he thought that this would probably be the best place to have it donated, because he knew that would take care of it and he'd use it too. Dave Todd, nice to have you on board. We have Art Dodd, nice to have you here from New Jersey, K2ADC. Garage Brennan, nice to have you on board. Yeah, she was beautiful. Metaliner says, I'm wondering, what are some of the farthest distance medium wave DXing that you have done? I'm Connecticut, and I can get as far south as Charlotte, North Carolina, and as west as Chicago, but not beyond that. Today, from Montreal, which is the Northeast, I've been able in the last couple of years to go up to like Cuba. I've been able to hear Radio Rebelde out of Cuba on something like 580 kilohertz or something. I don't remember which frequency exactly, but it was definitely that when propagation is right. And over time with some of the DX tests, I've been able to go pretty far. When I look at my SDR, because on the SDR, you can see things that you might not notice on a standard radio. I could see the little peaks of some of the Europeans are kind of faint, but there. Actually, when 880 WCBS a couple of years ago had maintenance and they went off the air, we took that opportunity to DX 880, which is dominant with New York here. And I was able to hear a faint BBC from the UK on 882 kilohertz. Not enough to make out a program, but it was obvious that it was the BBC out of the UK that was probably coming in here. But noise level is a problem, and that noise level prevents a lot of the DXing to go through. I would say that you probably can do more than that if you have quiet conditions. And also, not just quiet conditions. I think one of the things you need to do is try at different times, and especially when you hear that there's geomagnetic storming and auroras going on, turn it on. You won't hear the standard radio stations that you might hear, but you might be surprised to hear something else, like maybe Central South America, which might be coming in. So I don't know what's their setup exactly for medium wave, if it's just the internal ferrite from the portable radio. But if you're persistent, you definitely can actually go more than that. Pretty sure. So, hey, Philip Jones, nice to have you here. Radio Red October, nice to have you here. Yeah, that was a cat that would call Paul's girlfriend, which they hanged out together. And inside the house, they weren't. Well, she was very she was fond of Paul, because when she would come in, she would always go and brush up against Paul, kind of saying hi, nice to see you. Paul was more of, yeah, don't, stay away. But the funny thing about it, and probably it's territorial, when they were together in the house, Paul didn't like it that much when she was too close. But when they were outside, he and Paul were always very close together and going around the neighbors' yards together, and sometimes just taking a nap together in the neighbor's yard in the grass. So, I think he kind of enjoyed the company, but maybe when she was inside, for him, it was like, you're in my territory. This is my place. And, but he wasn't that bad. He just gave her a little tap sometimes when she would go through, and, she would tap back saying, hey, meow. Don't do that. But it wasn't, because some cats sometimes are really bad with each other. They weren't bad with each other. They were just, kind of teasing each other. Sometimes I was almost thinking, are they maybe just playing, just like, it was so funny. Yeah, it is always sad when a pet passes away. So, like Matt says, very sorry to hear, but it's true that you gave her the best years of her life. So, yeah. HSNH. Nice to have you here. Mickey Delmage, nice to have you here from Sherwood Park. That recording of CFCF is amazing that you sent. I received many magazines from WMLK, full back page ad from Ethon. Not sure if this is a paid ad or they are just using the Grundig edition photo under their schedule. That I heard about that at some point, and they were like, "Yeah, what is it doing there?" I don't know. I don't know if it's a paid ad or anything. Nice to have you here, Mickey. Bob D, first amateur radio station on the moon, JS1YMG, now transmitting. Huh, that's interesting. Well, do you know the frequencies? Do you have a website you can share, or the frequencies, or where it is? Ardad, it's nice you looked after her. We have an orange stray with nickname Sandy. I feel her when she is on the back deck. Quite a character. Even with the beard, yeah, I know. I have to trim it. It's I think when I was much longer last year, at some point I looked in the mirror and I was like, yeah, I look more like an Amish than anything else. I think I'm gonna cut the beard. Alex 82DU, nice to have you here from New York City. The X winner heard RA36 test broadcast last night. Pretty good signal. Yeah, they had transmitter issues. They fixed it. Apparently, the output was blown. What happened is that the guy that was taking care of the transmitter of LRA36, from I understand, went back to Argentina, and now there's this other guy, and that guy didn't know nothing. So operating the transmitter in ways that it should not have. And what happened is that they blowed the output of the transmitter. So they kind of fixed it temporarily, and they're waiting for that. Um, they're waiting for that 10 kilowatt that's supposed to arrive apparently at the end of February. This is going to be interesting because apparently they're not even at 1 kilowatt. According to their own technical staff, they are running like at 600 or 700 watts only. So it's kind of amazing that we hear them up to here in North America from way down in Antarctica. So it's anyways, we're gonna see that. And with that 10 kilowatt, I think that signal is going to be really, really nice later this year. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. J Projects, nice to have you here from San Diego. The PBRSTG, nice to have you here from the Northern Green Mountains of Vermont. Gord, nice to have you here from Niagara Falls, Ontario, VE3BEE. Mike WX50, nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas. He's got a Yachtboy 400, nice little radio, definitely. Michael, nice to have you on board from New Jersey. Guitar Man, nice to have you here from Hamilton, Ontario. SWL Signals, nice to have you here from Florida. TB Ostrowski, nice to have you here from Medicine Hat, Alberta. What else do we have? Michael says Gilles still #1 radio host. Pete Johnson, nice to have you here from Chicago. Darren Rogers, nice to have you on board from Long Island, New York. KB2AHS. Bob's radio channel says hopefully this Shortwave 7600 works well for you. Oh yeah, it works. It works great. It's in top shape. But I'll talk about it a little later. I'll give my opinion. Chris 66, nice to have you on board from Kentucky. What else do we have? Let me just go back to where I was. There we go. Trying to. There we go. Artist Out of Crafter's Kitchen. My Yachtboy 400 sent me back whopping $8 with antenna intact and original carrying case. Maybe the deal I got on it helps me enjoy it even more, but it's a nice radio. At $8, I would have paid $20 or $30 or $40. I would have seen one at $50. I would have said, yeah, I'm taking it. I paid mine the way that it worked. So back then, I was using the Radio Shack DX398, I believe. And that we're talking 1990. I'm trying to figure out which year. Mid 90s to late 90s. I don't know. From 95 to 97, 8. I'm trying to figure out the dates. Kind of gets a little fuzzy after so many years. So anyways, I wanted to have the Yachtboy 400. I remember reading the review and the Passport to World Band radio back, and they gave it a good review, and I liked it, and I really wanted to have it. So I was downtown for buying some CDs. I wanted to buy a couple of music CDs, and I passed in front of a store that doesn't exist anymore, which I think was at Atlantic Electronic. And I got in, and I looked at what they had, and they had the Yachtboy 400 on display, which surprised me quite a lot. For a mainstream radio store or mainstream electronics store. So I remember that in the passport they said that you shouldn't pay in Canada. You shouldn't pay more than 100. I think it was 199 for it or something. So I got in, and the guy, I looked at the guy, said, "How much you selling it for?" And he was asking 249, I think. So I was like, "Yeah, that's too expensive." So I told him, "I give you 179 for it to see what would happen." And the guy didn't even say anything. He just looked at me and said, "Cool, 179." So I was like, "Okay." I think he just wants to get rid of it. Maybe I should have said 169 or 159. I don't know. But anyways, at 179 was for me was okay. That's okay. It's in the price. It's brand new and it's pretty much the price. So basically, it was okay. So it's it was kind of interesting. So we continued, and I purchased it that night. I remember I think I purchased it and forgot, didn't buy the CDs because I didn't have the money left for it. But yeah, it was really really nice. At $8, I would not complain. That's for sure. Skip, nice to have you on board into EI. Art Dot says there was a Q and AM station was interfering with WR 710. It was around 6 years ago. So a few weeks, then disappeared. Yeah, you have to be there at the right time for that to happen. So TB Ostrowski says I'm freezing up. Anybody seeing me freeze up? Robert Varner Paul is a confirmed bachelor. Tassovi, nice to have you here from New York City. Bob, transmitting Morse code on 437.41. Is it difficult to get the signal? I'm curious. I would guess that I'd have to get maybe a directional antenna of some sort. Must be a little difficult to get it. I mean, that's a good distance from the moon. Chris 66, nice to have you here. Paul Ashwin, nice to have you here from Poland. So yeah. 1 watt UHF 43741. I have to try it. I don't know if I'll be able. Any of you guys heard it? VT Radio, Paul AA1SU. Nice to have you here from Vermont. Working the Vermont QSO party. Cool. That's cool. Guitar Man, question about your XH data D109WB. Do you have interference issues when connecting an external antenna like the MLA30 or wire antenna? I find mine impossible to use with an external antenna. The reason is very simple. The radio is incapable of having too high of signals. So when you put the MLA30 on it, the noise you're getting is actually the radio overloading crazy with everything else, making a kind of a interference or white noise on it. It's really the radio overloading. It can't cope with external antennas. It's already very difficult to cope with the telescopic when signals are strong. So when you're putting the MLA30 on it, you're probably just overloading it crazy. So I'll try it here and make a few videos during the next few days. So Mike WX50, Larry Magny, editor in chief, Passport World Band Radio, says the Yardboy 400PE is the best compact shortwave portable we have tested. You know what? Somebody though has made me realize the extensive ads that Grundig were running in the Passport and making me think about, well, they're kind of giving them a very high rate, a very high rating, but at the same time, they're a really big advertiser. So I was like, yeah, you know what? That's kind of a conflict of interest, I gotta say. I will say. Show you my SW7600 older version to yours. Okay. No freezing. Okay, cool. So it's our friend TV Ostrowski. Dead Before Digital. Nice to have you here. He's the guy behind this beautiful 7600. Thanks for the radio, Andrew. Volts, nice to have you on board from Latvia. Long time no see. So yeah, Guitar Man, like I said, that radio, the D108 WB is just incapable of 109 is incapable of running external antennas. It's just not designed for it. You know, the price that it costs, they've cut corners for sure. Chris Way, nice to have you on board from Southwest UK. Nice to have you here. Before I continue and answer, first of all, the question on email, I just want to say that if you want to, next week, Saturday, February the 10th, we have the Zoom meeting for those that contribute to the channel. You can contribute in many ways. You can contribute in a video and, give a little something there. There's a little heart icon in the bottom of videos, and you can actually give a little something there. There's the super chat here that you can give something also. And donations can also go to the PayPal, which is this email for the donations. Anybody that gives any amount of donation is going to be invited to the Zoom meeting next week. That's going to happen at 20 hours Universal Time. And we're going to have a lot of fun. Zoom is different because we see each other. You don't have to have a camera. You can just hang out there if you want, but kind of fun to share together. And so it's coming up next week at 20 hours UTC. I started sending out the links. So if you haven't received it yet, you should be receiving it Monday or Tuesday, beginning of the week. So thank you for all the people that contribute to the channel. Rafik 1980 just ordered the Texan PL660. Thank you so much. Rob says still need big time to restore the Grundig satellite. Yeah, that's a big restoration. Big restoration. What's the difference with the 400 and 400 PE? I think it only has to do with, for the most part, it has to do with one, because a PE I think is for professional edition, and it has a different color. And I think the PE version comes with the power supply that is in the box, a separate power supply, where the original Yacht Boy, I think, does not have a power supply in the box. Something like that. Timmy Ostrowski says Yacht Boy sounds like a gigolo on the Midgetarian pleasure craft. Yes, it's me, Yacht Boy. The Win 1960. Nice to have you on board from New York. Anything else? Anything else? So, okay. PE is professional. It's silver chrome finish. Did the PE have a power supply, Arthur? I think one had a power supply, but I know that there's difference in color. The one I had was the 400, which was black. But the PE I remember was kind of silver, like this color. It was like the Sony color here. Same color, kind of a finish, kind of a silver finish to it. So anyway, the question that comes from, let me just take it out here. So in my email, the question that comes from Joshua, and he's located in the suburbs of Los Angeles, California. And so he's a big fan of the channel and all of that. He does watch the live show, but does not participate usually. And so the question he asked is, as time went by, I had several different radios. Was there like a time frame where you could say, in this time period, I had this favorite radio that I was using, and so on? So, yeah, because you know what? When you have multiple radios or when you change radios over time, you definitely also change what's your favorite radio. Sometimes it's just because it's a new radio, sometimes it's simply because it's better. So, if I go to the time frame of when I started back in 1982, so my first radio, which was my favorite radio because it's the only radio I had, was a DX100, realistic DX100. Um, about a year and a half, 2 years ish later, my new favorite was the realistic or the Radio Shack DX302, and that was like a huge leap forward because it had a digital readout. So for the first time, I could just go to a frequency and say, "Oh, I hear it or I don't hear it." No fussing around trying to find it on an analog dial. And the 302, mixed in there, I had a couple of portables. The Panasonic RFB 300. I had the Panasonic RF 20. I always mix up the numbers. 2800. Which were nice, but were not my main drivers. I would always go back to my DX302. But when I was outside, I would often use some of these portables. Then my real new favorite and main machine as a desktop radio for years, the Kenwood R5000, which I purchased in 1990 and used until it was unusable because of its problems that it actually developed over time. The famous dots problem because of the phase lock loop that loses its lock. And that's when I went on to the ICOM ICRD 500, which then became kind of my favorite. And today as a main desktop-ish radio, I would say that some of my favorites SDRs, of course, like the AirSpy HF Plus Discovery and the SDR Play RSPDX. I do have quite a favorite in the Yaesu FTDX10 that's right here behind me. That's awesome radio. In terms of portables, because I used to do a lot of, in the summertime, I would always listen outside. It was fun. In terms of portables, my favorites over time would have been probably the Radio Shack DX398, which was actually that Sanji and ATS 909, which was not perfect, had its flaws, but I loved it as a radio. The Yacht Boy 400 I got and used it for a couple of years where I used to live before. And that was one of my favorite radios back in the day. That definitely was one of my favorite radios back in the day. Today, if we talk portables, got a lot of favorites. I do like the Texan PL990 or H501, but even less expensive radios like the PL330 is kind of pretty cool. So it moves and it changes over time. I've been using a lot of my Yaesu, but that if you've seen my video about my MLA30 versus my end-fed antenna, the differences that I get. Basically, it's more of depending on the frequency I'm listening to, I'll be listening to a different radio. I don't plug in my MLA30 on my Yaesu in general for one simple reason. forgetting that it's there and not the end fed, and then keying up to transmit and blowing it up. So I rather keep the Yaesu only on the end fed, because if I am, in a little dumb moment where I just don't realize, at least if I key up or if I transmit, I won't blow anything, because it's the antenna that is made for my transmissions. So I never really changed the antenna. I did it a few times. What I usually do is I take away the microphone, make sure I don't, have anything that I can key up, because another thing that I have to be careful, because I had a close call once. My end fed is in the backyard, but it's very close to the balcony. And when I do videos, you've noticed sometimes I put my portables on my barbecue, and that serves as a kind of a table, if you want, when I'm not using it. But that means that it's very, especially if I extend the telescopic quite a lot, brings that very close to the end fed wire. And that's another thing that I have to be extremely careful, not being distracted, leaving the radio outside, then keying up the transmitter at 100 watts, because it's so close. When I do that, probably blow up the radio's internal, amplifier, RF amp. So I have to be careful with that too. I had one close call once with a Texan receiver, and as I was about to use the Yaesu, I was like, "Oh crap! The radio's on the balcony in the back, and I can't transmit." So I got to be careful with that, and have some rules. Like, I was thinking, well, if you play with radios on the balcony in the backyard, make sure that your Yaesu is turned off. By having it turned off, it's going to remind me that, oh, it's turned off because I got radios in the back. Things like that, to make sure I don't mess up something, because I'm the perfect guy to forget and mess up something. If there is something to mess up, I'll do it. So I got to take extra steps. So, like I said, one of the rules, the Yaesu will always be on the end fed and never on anything else, unless it can be used to transmit, so that I don't blow up my multi-coupler or my MLA30 or anything like that. So that's the way I gotta operate. But and for those, somebody asked me the other day, says, aren't you afraid of messing up your MLA30 with, when you're transmitting 100 watts? No, because they're very far apart. My MLA30 is in the front yard, my end fed is in the back. So they're far enough apart that, yes, there is an interaction when I transmit. If I key up 100 watts on the Yaesu, I see that the MLA30 sensitivity drops because it's overloaded, but it's not strong enough to kill it because it's far enough away from the antenna. So, that's the good thing about not having the, because if I had the MLA30 in the back, I would have had to move it somewhere else. It would have been too close to the transmitting antenna. So that's pretty much the what I have to say here about that. Glenn Zegman, nice to have you here from Southwest Ohio. Yeah, that's okay. The PE came with the external power supply. That's what I thought. The PE had the power supply. The non-PE version was black and didn't come with an external power supply. If I'm right. TVDXer, bonjour, ça va bien? J'espère que tu vas bien. Nice to have you here from near Montreal. King of DXer, nice to have you on board. Good afternoon from Northwest Arkansas. Mike WX50. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, Rob, to see you power up their shortwave radio kit. Going to be fun. I mean, nice to see it working. WX50 has a PE version. Because for the rest, I think the PE, except for the power supply and the power supply and the the color of the casing, I think the internals were pretty much the same radio for both. Glenn Zexman's first radio was a Alicrafters 120S. What else do we have? Volts. Any new base antennas? Last time I remember you had a Sloper and an MLA. It's pretty much stayed the same for now. I got three main antennas. I've got the VHF UHF mobile vertical on a middle shed in the back. I've got what is a end fed, but it's in a sloper. So I don't know if you're mixing it up maybe with the actual sloper that I did use before, but now because of my Yaesu for transmitting, I have a half wave in fed in the backyard, but it's at an angle, so it's kind of in a sloper mode if you want. So I don't know if that was the one or if it was because I had a sloper before. And yes, I got the ML830 in the front. And like I was about to say, if you've not seen that in some of the videos I posted, my end fed is great. Above 10 megahertz, it's like the king of antennas here. Below 10 megahertz, the king of the antennas is my ML830. And it mostly has to do probably with the noise level. My ML830 below 10 megahertz, the signal to noise ratio is better. So it gets noise, but I get a lot more signal. So at least I can hear stuff that I never hear. And there are some frequencies like, say, for in 49-meter band. If I wanted even as simple as that, WWCR from Nashville, Tennessee, is a powerhouse signal here on 4840 in the 60-meter band. On my ML830, it like is super powerful. But on my end fed and with the Yaesu, it's so noisy that it's, it's there, but it's sometimes even difficult to listen to. So it picks up a lot of noise below, 9, 10 megahertz. There's kind of a cutoff point. My ML830 and my end fed kind of are equal, maybe from 8-ish megahertz up to maybe 11-ish, 12-ish megahertz in that range. One or the other will give me roughly, the same signal. But below 8, that's definite. Anything I listen to will be better on the ML830 than on the end fed, which is very, very noisy. In fact, another experiment that I had, and that's thanks to Matt, MDK2 in Denver, when we made some contacts, we tried to get contacts on every HF band. And we were trying on 80 meters FT8 mode. And I noticed, actually, I think Matt noticed that some were calling back to me and I was not hearing them on the Yaesu. So I fired up my SDR with the ML830, put it on FT8 with the software to see. And in fact, when I was calling CQ, some stations were answering back to me that I could see it with the ML830, but I was not getting the decode or seeing it, hearing anything with that on the Yaesu with the end fed. So it showed me that, okay, the ML830 gets more signals. Its noise level is lower. So it's kind of interesting. So I saw, yeah. And one of the things I've always noticed here on lower frequencies, particularly on the higher frequencies, I think I'm okay. If I go on 10 meters, 20 meters, 17, 15, I'm fine. That is okay. But I noticed that when if I call CQ on 40 meters, for example, I often have one time I did it and there were people listening in and they said some are calling back at you and I could barely hear them. So it's like my signal is going out there. That's not the problem. My noise floor is so high that I'm unable to hear them. That is the problem. So anyways, that's the problem of living in the middle of a big city. Oh, you got yourself a Samsung S24 Ultra, Rob. Wow, cool. Enjoy that. Tarek, nice to have you here from Cairo, Egypt. John in Tampa, Florida, nice to have you here. We have Michael. Any information on the XH Data D608 weather alert? Yeah, I've seen it. I'd have to get one and check it out. So to see how it performs, I know that there's a few people that do have one. I would have to check it out. WFJ59 KE8YPO. Nice to have you here from Mid Michigan. We have Tasso ordered in XH Data D608WB. Looking forward to it. Don't know how long it will take, as I ordered it directly from XH Data website. It should be quite quick. Anything I've ordered direct from XH Data website didn't take more than a week and a half, and it was there. So pretty. You should have it quite quickly. Tag got a Malahite T DSP2 a week ago, waiting for the donut antennas. So cool. WFJ59 says my first shortwave radio was a Radio Shack DX160. So that's pretty cool. That one was, I don't know how many people I've heard that had that one, and started out with that radio, honestly. So yeah, no, moving out of the city is not an option, and even less now with the amazingly crazy prices that things are being sold for around here now. So we'll hang on. And, sometimes we say that you got to compare yourself to kind of find that, well, you're better off than a lot of others. I still remember comparing myself with a couple of other guys and kind of realizing that it's kind of a really rough ride here. But for a guy that's in the middle of a city, I still have it better than a lot of guys that are way, way worse than me. Here I have the liberty of putting up pretty much any antenna I want, where it's not given for everyone, and depending on where you live and how you live, and some live in condos where you got just no possibilities. So I got to take it. Yes, I know. I see these guys that live out in the country and have these great DX because it's like the noise is so low that it's like, I get jealous. But at the same time, some are jealous of my setup and what I can hear. So you got to take it the best way you can, because it's not the worst situation also. And even though it's not perfect. Steve Burnham, nice to have you here from Central Pennsylvania. HSNH, my favorite receiver is a Racal RA17C12. That's awesome. Nice to have you here, Hans from Netherlands. Keegan DXer, nice to have you here. Robert Varner, one of my favorite shortwave radios back in the early 80s was a Panasonic RF2600. It had a digital readout. Yeah, those were nice radios. I always enjoyed most of the Panasonics. Brad Shaver, nice to have you on board from North Illinois. Tarek, my first shortwave radio cassette was National in 1984, which National was, I believe, the same as a Panasonic. Later on, got a Sharp FV610 in 86. Then a breakthrough with a Sony ICF SW7600 in 1991. Cool. Glenn Danzler, lost track of time repairing laptops on the workbench. Ricky, I still have a Sony ICF 7600 JR and earlier, and also I had a Yachtboy 400p. In my honest opinion, speaking subjectively, of course, Sony's sound and build were better. I never took a liking to the Yacht Boy 400's BFO knob. It is true that the Grundig, the Yacht Boy 400, didn't have a high quality feel to it. I do remember when I was using it was nice, but I didn't, I didn't feel that quality to it back in the day. But it did the job. You know, if I talk about the Sony 7600, I mean, these are radios from an era where things were very different than today. Analog PLL for the most part. And for some reason in the 90s, a lot of radios didn't have tuning knobs and were kind of, having you use up, down buttons and things like that to tune around. It's difficult to, I gave my opinion, but I kind of mentioned the opinion is also based on the fact that this is a different era of radio technology where things were different, where we didn't have a lot of the bells and whistles that are on portables today. So you got to take it into consideration that you're talking about a radio that had the limitations of the 90s. What does it mean? Well, in the 90s, it simply meant that you had, wide, narrow bandwidth switch. And there's sometimes, for audio is like often they print it out as like news, music. You'd have to switch between news and music. That would kind of change the audio fidelity. But, there was nothing fantastic about it. The Sony ICF 7600JR here, it's okay. But, I have to understand and compare it with today's radios. And I'm like, yeah, okay, it's kind of lacking in a lot of ways. And it would not be a choice. If I had a few radios to buy and that would be in it, that would not be a choice because it simply isn't that fantastic. The audio quality is just average, and it isn't as sensitive. It lacks a little bit of sensitivity, things like that. And just two choices of wide, narrow, and things like that make it like, yeah, okay. But it does the job, and the idea here is not to say that it's a bad radio, because it isn't a bad radio. I talked about bad radios. It isn't, that one isn't a bad radio. Just gonna. There's a broadcast coming up here on 1701.6.8. So anyways, it's for the time, that's what it was. And the Yacht Boy 400 shared the same type of, way of working, a BFO knob, and, I don't even remember if the Yacht Boy 400 had an upper lower sideband switch, or if it was just you go on SSB. So, that was the way it was. That was the way it was back then. And you gotta think about it and compare it with more of the radios back then. Today, when you look at like a Texan PL990 with all of its bandwidths, you're like, yeah, that's kind of more fun and more precision in the display and the single sideband calibration capability with WWV, for example, to make sure the frequency is precise. There's so many things that you're like, yeah, and the audio quality is much better. So, definitely when you use that and you compare it to what you have with today's Texans, it's like, okay. It's an okay radio for the day, but it was like that in that period of time, a lot of radios were built that way. Yacht Boy 400 included. It had a wide narrow switch or something like that, which was very common back then. They're officially putting in more bandwidths would have made the radio much more expensive, and they wouldn't have sold as many. King and DXer has got the Panasonic RF 2800 from 1978 since 2008. King and DXer vaults. Maybe it's possible that sets separate MLA as a receive only, and basically a switch that would switch the full size antenna to transmit. Yeah, I had that idea going through my mind of how would it be possible to have some kind of switching. I've seen somebody somewhere doing that, like having a magnetic loop on a receive. It had another antenna on transmit because for him it worked better. And when he had kind of it was like automatically switching. When you would transmit, it would automatically switch between the antennas on transmit and receive. On the lower bands, it'd definitely be a better thing. So that would help me. On 80 meters, definitely that would be better. I could hear people calling back at least. Even on 40, it would be a better choice. Above that, it's not really needed. And I've kind of, accustomed myself that, well, my work bands will be 30 meters and up. But, in the wintertime, sometimes like deep winter, late at night, if solar activity isn't very high, you end up like, the bands that are more open are like 40 and 80. And it'd be fun if you could do something. It's like when I put because when I put up the end fed, I tried an experiment and I put a second wire, which was much longer. And it opened up on the tuner, the internal tuner, the radio. It opened up the capability of me making contacts even on 160. The internal antenna tuner was capable of tuning 160. So I kind of missed that a little bit because I was like, yeah, it was kind of fun to do a little bit of 160 meters. Now, once again, on that type of transmit receive, the MLE 30 on 160 would beat the end fed. So I don't know. I'd have to take a look at it, but it's definitely something I did think about. How could I set it up that automatically there could be a switching between the transmit and the receive antenna? Skip, sorry, Skip N2EI says Collins R390 had 2 and have the hernia scars to prove it. Yeah, these things are so heavy. So, what was the book? I was going to show it, talk about it a little bit. So, I want to thank John Figliozzi, one of the guys that actually is also behind the Winter Shortwave Festival, for sending me a copy. So, this is the 11th edition of the Worldwide Listening Guide. And this book is you got to be careful because even though shortwave is represented in here, and yes, there are frequencies and times and shows that you can listen to on shortwave, it's not just for shortwave. And actually, a big majority of the book will be other media, other ways to get media. So this is mostly a book for anyone that wants to enjoy listening to content and that doesn't mind where he's going to actually get the content. And what's nice is that his listing of all the different programming is made like a shortwave schedule book with times in UTC, station or program you'll be listening to, and you'll have the way that you can listen to it, where should you tune on either shortwave. So if you have some programming, you'll see that there are frequencies listed on some of the programs, but also there's online ways of being, tuning in if you want. So it really truly says it here. It's tune in using all of today's listening formats. So whether it's XM satellite, whether it's TuneIn app, whether it's through your computer, smart device, whatever, you have all the capabilities of Wi-Fi, internet radio. So you have here all the programming, some exclusive to only being online. And of course, there's some shortwave mixed in also. So it's not just online, but like I said, a lot of it is online and different other ways of listening. It's really a book made for the media, the fan of content listening. You like content, you don't care where you're going to get the content, get this book. You're going to have a huge list of content that you can listen to, from science programs to society, culture, people, cultural values programs, media, communications programs, philosophy, learning. You'll have environmental programs, general documentary programs, all sorts of things, science, news, newscasts, news commentary, analysis, and so on. So it's complete for that. It's a very complete book, but it's not just shortwave. Some of it is shortwave. You'll have times and frequencies, and a lot of it is online through different media platforms that you can also stream it from. So it's, I think, $27.95 at Universal Radio. Somebody told me they saw it on Amazon in the US. Here in Canada, it doesn't show up. Make sure if you want to order it that you order the 11th edition. Be very careful, because everywhere I looked, the 10th edition is available. This is the 11th. You want to have the latest one if you want to get the guide by John Figliozzi. Thanks, John, for also providing a copy of it. I really enjoy. And I got a Wi-Fi radio, and I wanted to check some of the stuff from there and look at it through Wi-Fi radio. So yeah, I'm pretty much caught up most of the time today on the chat, which is interesting. John, Tampa, Florida, just ordered one of those donut shortwave antennas. Works great on my ICOM ICR6 communications receiver on shortwave. Even better reception on 8 to 900 megahertz for $13. Okay. Gary 24 fans, Sony 7600s, the radio I own, still chugging along for more than 15 years. Ricky says, I also ruined the buttons on the Yacht Boy more quickly than I did on the Sony. So, yeah, there's kind of a similar feel to the Sony and the Yacht Boy. What else do we have here? Let me just... Okay, here we go. Yeah, the Yacht Boy 400 was now part of a series that wasn't really made by Grundig anymore. OG Railways. For me, most of the interference doesn't come over the air, but from the power grid. I need to make my reception independent of the power grid, but I do not know how to do it well for the RSPDX. The best thing you can do is make sure that you get you could put chokes or ferrites on the power cables. One of the biggest problems that I think, it's difficult, because when somebody talks about interference, or I can't hear this, or I have the same radio than you have, but I don't hear that, and or it's very noisy. It's to try to understand, what what's the problem. And one of the things, like for SDRs, for example, when I see somebody say, well, on my RSPDX, I don't hear the same thing as my portable. My portable gets it stronger. The first thing that comes to mind for me is, yeah, your computer might be actually generating too much noise into the SDR. And because here, my mini computer that I use for the SDRs pretty much doesn't generate noise into the SDRs. So I can actually tell everybody, yes, you should have a signal as strong, if not better, on the SDR, the RSPDX, or any other than you have on a portable. If you don't, my take is either a settings issue, maybe something in the settings on the software isn't right, or there's a good chance that it could be a PC noise issue. I use USB cables that have chokes on them on each end. That probably does help. But yeah, we have noise in so many different ways today. It's crazy. I noticed that in the power of my apartment here, the wiring in the walls actually carry noise. And one of the ways I see it is if I put a portable radio in the kitchen, I got two lamps in the ceiling. If I put a portable radio on near the door in the back and tune a shortwave signal, the light just overhead is an incandescent bulb. It doesn't create noise of its own. It's just an incandescent bulb. Yet, if I turn on the switch, the noise level goes up, which tells me that by putting that wiring in the circuit, it actually transmits all the noise that the rest of the wiring has in the house. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Thanks, Arthur. The just a tunable BFO for the Yardboy 400. Michel Colette, salut. J'espère que ça va bien. Nice to have you here, VA2CO. So, Tarek, a couple of weeks ago, was by the sea and managed to get Lithuania, Slovenia, and China on medium wave. Wow, that's cool. The Wind 1960 started out in a hobby in the early 70s with an R390 boat anchor. Yeah, it will be a Springfest this year, May 10th and 11th. I don't know what's going to happen with it. A lot of people are kind of pushing for an in-person event. I personally think that the big focus should be put on the Zoom. I think, yeah, it was cool. I know a lot of people miss the in-person events and meeting up with people, real people. But at the same time, I think what was started with the pandemic and with the Zoom Winterfest is a lot more people participating. There was never that many people at Winterfest as there is on the virtual Winterfest. It's fine if you want to do in person. I know some people like that, and it's great. I'm just afraid that if they focus on a in-person event, I'll have an impact on the virtual one. And I am kind of a fond believer that the future's here. The Zoom one is the way to go. And that's where the focus needs to be. And if you want to do an in-person event, find some way to maybe create a little something. Absolutely. But make sure that the focus stays on the virtual one. I mean, I've been enjoying the virtual ones amazingly well. They're great. And a lot of people that will never be able to go or just can go in person found it so cool that now finally they can participate in one of the major shortwave events every year. And thanks to the Zoom platform, it's easy to do. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll see what they decide for sure. Chicopee Radio 2009. Nice to have you here. Yeah, Michel. Fait longtemps. It's nice to have you here. Okay, Onism's Radios with a new name. Welcome back, my friend. Dan V, nice to have you here. And thank you so much. And 8WJZ. What time of and day does the radio show start on 90.3? It's on Sunday, and it's at 15:30 UTC. Sunday at 15:30 UTC. That's 10:30 a.m. Eastern. One thing that might happen in the next couple of weeks, if you guys are interested, now it will be in French, but I had a little idea. So, of course, I do the International Radio Report that a lot of you guys are listening to, but I've started participating and cooperating with a show on a French language community radio station, which is 103.3 FM in Longueuil, just south of Montreal. It's an 80s music show, and we're working on the fact that eventually I will be one out of two every 2 Fridays. Every 2 weeks, I'll be the main guy in control of the show. So it's like I'm getting trained to get there slowly. So right now I'm part of the team, and it's a lot of fun. So I thought, because it's radio, and even if it's not in English, I mean, there's a lot of music, so you guys can listen to the music, I guess. But at the same time, you guys will see how, what it looks like. I might be doing a Friday, because it's a Friday evening local time, so it's 6 to 10 p.m., which means would be from 2300 to 0300 UTC. I might be one of the Friday evenings streaming it here on the Shortwave channel, just for the fun of you guys seeing the show that happens there on 103.3 FM, just south of Montreal. So I thought maybe a one-off thing, just for the fun of it. And you guys can join in. And it's an 80s music show. Usually we focus on a specific year every Friday. Like last night was 1982. So, and at the same time, we'll have we'll say a little quick hi in English to the listeners. But that might happen in one of the Friday evenings quite soon, actually. But eventually, they installed cameras in the studio, so eventually they'll have the show live. Because you can stream it, of course, on the website of the station. But they'll have also the live studio cameras that you will see the studio and us actually doing the show. So we'll check that out. So James Farley, KD2GUZ from Old Bridge, New Jersey, with some slow scan television on 14230, which is one of the main frequencies. Mike says May seems to be a bit late for the Winterfest. Yeah. Kevin, nice to have you on board. Imagine having the radio from the Twilight Zone received all of the broadcasts from all its prediction dates. It was the boarding house episode. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I would guess. I'm not even sure there's anything from North Korea in there. Honestly. Yeah, that would be interesting, Kevin. If you bought a radio, it's like, the radio was built in 1960, so you'll be hearing 1960s broadcast. Would all be going out and looking at, production dates of every radio. I want to have a radio of every year since the 1930s or something. That's the band. My first shortwave radio was a Sanyo with 2 tapes. Those with AM, FM, and shortwave 1 and 2 bands. That was a discovery. Then I asked my parents for one that they bought, and they bought a Philips AE 3350, which I still use sometimes. I wonder how many, because, I looked around. Just one of the ideas is looking around. So the boombox of the 80s, a lot of them had SW1, SW2 shortwave bands on it. It was very common back in the day that some boomboxes had shortwave. I knew a couple of guys that had a boombox with shortwave. What I noticed is I was the only one understanding what it was. One of the guys that I hung out with a lot, and we would go up north on the weekends, had what was it? It was a A1, AIWA, something like that. Boombox, a really big one that had tremendous audio. And we would use it mostly to listen to music, but sometimes he would, because he had some other people there up north. So sometimes he would just drop me off and continue on to see his friends. And so I would actually turn on the boombox. And I remember actually listening several Saturdays in a row that I was alone there in the shack and listening to the DX party line from HCJB. And I remember one day he kind of came back early and he looks at me and says, "What are you listening to?" And I said, "Well, that's a station from Quito, Ecuador, coming out on your radio." And he had no idea. And from what I understand, the majority of people that had boombox, they listened to music and their favorite FM station or something. But very little actually ever went to SW1, SW2 to see what's there. It was like, I always found that's funny because I'm a curious type of guy. So if you give me a radio that has other bands on it, I'm going there. I'm going to see what's out there in those other ranges. But it seems for most people, it isn't the case. They just, they bought it for music. They bought it for a specific use. And that SW1, SW2 is like nothing interesting there. Nothing to see. Or maybe, I don't know. Maybe I guess some people did, but maybe they did in the wrong time period. Wrong time of day, for example, and you didn't hear much. And let's face it, some of these boombox weren't very sensitive. They had shortwave on them, but it was like the very basics of shortwave. And actually, that boombox, if I remember well, it got HCJB on it, but kind of noticed that it wasn't actually that sensitive to anything else. It didn't get for, especially when you're like 1990, 91, there's quite a lot of shortwave broadcasts still. It didn't seem like it on it. So you could see that it probably wasn't very sensitive, actually. What else do we have? I just lost my spot. Okay, here we go. My WX50 had a previous version of John's book. Rob's radio channel. I think internet is killing radio because last week we had a big storm, no internet, no electricity, and all we had was radio. So yeah, we gotta have a bad time to notice that radio is important. Here we had it last year. That'd been a long time since we had something like that. But a very quick ice storm last year. The perfect bad weather, just enough ice on everything, mixed in with high winds to break off branches everywhere. And to have here, I got no power for about 16, 18 hours, which wasn't too bad. But, just the other street, they didn't have power for 4 days. And my cell phone was close to being useless. My cell phone was barely capable of going on the internet with all the towers being probably hogged down by all the connections. At times, it didn't connect at all. And that's where I saw that, radio is important. Pretty much the only way I was getting news would be radio. John Harris, cheers. Esteban recently acquired a Cheat Tech 20 Cheat Digital radio. Not bad indeed. And waiting now for a PL330. I love the PL330. So Jim Gordon, nice to have you here. Been cold here in Scotland. Took my DGen PLD 1103 to the park. The conditions were really poor. Not even VOA Botswana 15580 at 14 UT. Matt, radio free whatever is up on 6950. Let's check it out here. 6950. Yeah, it's not very strong, but it's there. I hear it on the Texan H501 here. So radio free whatever coming in. So it's not super strong, but it's there. It's definitely there. Radio free whatever. And I'm going to check out. In 33 minutes from now, there's a M12 Russian number station in Morse code, 5832 kilohertz. We're going to try that. Duena has a killer copy on 6950. You know what? Talking about pirates, there was a very unusual one here. We had a pirate in French that was La Voix de l'Indépendance du Québec, which basically means the independence of the province of Quebec. And I thought it was very unique. I never heard of a Quebec pirate that's political. We kind of wondered if is it transmitted from here? I saw Chris Malinsky got a EQSL, said 20 watts, but when I look at all the reports from the East Coast, seemed fairly powerful for 20 watts. It was an AM mode, and it had a lot of francophone stuff and political stuff from the province here. It was very, very unique. I've never heard something like that. Sheldon actually sent me an email, and I had seen the EQSL the day before, and I was like, "Whoa, what is that?" I was never heard that before. Something that's like that. So Hunters Honor Crafters. Galloway 400, Sony 7600 definitely competed for much of the same consumers, and both radios sized about as big as a paperback book, definitely packaged as travel portables. Yeah. John Tempa, okay. Rob, do you think AM radio will come back? Well, it's finding a rough battle, and I think it's like shortwave. It's like shortwave. I think it's going to level off. It's not going to go to zero. AM radio will be there in 100 years, but it'll be just a few players that will be the dominant guys. Like shortwave. Shortwave is going to be there, but it's going to be targeted very specifically at different areas of the world with a lot of transmitter sites that will be main transmitter sites used. So some countries might not have their own transmitters anymore, but still be via a relay, for example. So it's going to be interesting, but AM radio is a tough one because AM radio we're going to talk about it tomorrow. According to some statistics, there's only about like 5% of car users, for example, apparently tuning into an AM radio station. And I could see that. I mean, I'm a radio guy, and if I would drive around in a car, commute and go to work like normal people, I would definitely not be tuning in on AM radio station. There's nothing interesting, first of all, in the AM band here in Montreal. It's the most boring thing. Maybe they could change. For those of you that don't know, 600 kilohertz, 940 kilohertz, which were supposed to be news talk radio stations, but have been playing music for the last 10 years or more. They've been sold to a group that actually has put up shows and announcers and all of that, and it's supposed to be really talk radio. It's going to be kind of a mixed talk radio and music shows. It's going to be definitely interesting to listen to what it sounds like. So tune in to 600 and 940 if you get them at night where you are. There's going to be a different format. Because right now it's like a big joke. It's like, news stations that are playing music, and it was like a loop. And for some reason, every time I tune in on the 600, I was always listening to some Boy George song. It's like Culture Club. It was like, do you really want to hurt me? I was like, wow, do they have so little songs that it's like I'm always tuning the same song? But it's supposed to change. Let's hope so. It could maybe change, change my mind of listening to AM a little more. We have one station on 1650, unfortunately, with programming I don't like, but it's a 24 hours, almost 24 hours. But I found something interesting the other day, though. It's almost 24 hours religion, yet I was telling that to Sheldon yesterday when we recorded the International Radio Report. I tuned in one evening with my Sanji and HDR 14 to hear that because it's the only AM station officially on AM with HD, and it does sound great on HD. And I came across Call Israel news broadcast in English. So I have to find if it's every night because I want to tune in. At least I'll have a reason to tune into that station. And plus it's HD, so it sounds great. So that's going to be something I need to check out. What time do they have that, and do they have it every day? Especially with what's happening now, kind of hearing the point of view of everybody. What do you have to say? So it's kind of interesting, but AM radio. And when I tune to bands and I hear AM radio in the United States, it's a big mess of political crap. So you don't even want to listen. One of the biggest, we got to remember that one of the biggest reasons why we might move away from radio is the content that's on it. And in the case of AM radio in the United States, the content is so bad. I totally understand why people would move away from it and want to listen to something else. So, you know. Mike DX50, hybrid sounds like a good option. I wanted to attend live event for many years. Yeah, hybrid, it's not the idea that hybrid's not a bad option, but it's as long as the Zoom, the virtual doesn't suffer from it. If the virtual still looks and is as great as it was in the past few years, and they're able to pull off a in-person event, cool. That'll be cool. OG Railway says, for my RSPDX, I know that if my laptop runs on battery, the noise floor is really low. Yeah, the problem is that with the software and powering the device, the battery doesn't last long. So yeah, definitely the power supplies are often the laptops all use switching power supplies, and they're not all of that great quality. Depends on the laptops and depends on the device. So Darren Rogers had a Yabot 400 also. Used to keep it by the edge of my desk. Reception was good at night. Telescopic wood. Unfortunately, I knocked it over one night and damaged the speaker. Mickey damage. Tons of Duran Duran on that show. Not that much. We don't really play that much. Actually, there's the show that I'm on. What we do is look at when was the last time a song played, and try to not repeat it every time we get to a certain year, so that we go through a big. I got the songs here because I'll eventually be doing the show. Yesterday you showed me the USB key. There's like 8,000 songs on there, and so I have all the songs. So there's a really big catalog of 80 songs in it, and we try to go through everything. It's better than listening to regular radio, because at least there's a choice, and we hear stuff we don't hear, like almost never played on the show, which is nice. But you know what? My WX50, maybe I should learn French now. The Hodges Autograph just kissing says 1982 is a good year. Graduated from high school. OG Railway says the simplest solution for me would be to buy a new laptop, and even that is not necessarily a solution, and I'll tell you why. My gaming laptop here, when I put in the energy saving mode, just using it for word processing and just surfing the web and stuff like that, it gives me a good 5 to 6 hours of battery. But if I run an SDR software and plug in the RSPDX, that 6 hours drops to barely 2 hours. So it's not even, that would not even, personally, I don't think, be a solution. I think what you should maybe try, if you can maybe put some chokes or ferrites on the power adapter cable, that could actually help. King and the Extra learned some French from listening to CHU. I like that. And a few Canadian FM stations via eSkip. Tobruk Tim, who can recommend a comfortable computer chair for my old ass? I find I've tested a lot. I've got this one, which is I bought on Amazon, which isn't bad. But definitely when we sit down and are seated for a long time, our butts get, especially when we get older. Got to say it. our butts get kind of tired of the chairs we're on. But I don't know. Anybody have a specific chair for their butts? I think that's what we should ask, because that's what happens most of the time. Oh yeah, Joseph, cool. Congratulations on that decode of slow scan television. Let's check it out here. I'm going to turn on the laptop, and I'm going to put myself in on 14230 and see if I can decode a couple of pictures. Remember, guys, one of the frequencies you could try also for pictures, that out of band frequency from the CB band, 27700. There's often some guys calling CQ with SSTV there. So 14230. Yeah, look at that. Some slow scan going on. I'm gonna wait for the laptop to start up. A lot of SSTV. There's like non-stop SSTV on 14230. RJ Dakota, AOA used to be like the big brother of Sony, just like Technics was a premium brand for Panasonic. I had a couple of items from AOA, and they were super, but I did enjoy the shortwave bands that I had. Greg Scherer, nice to have you here from southeastern Illinois. Beautiful day. Cool. David, ¿cómo está mi amigo? From Barcelona, Spain. Nice to have you on board, my friend. We have Matt. Says, my favorite Walkman cassette players were made by AWA. RJ Dakota, on my shortwave boombox, which was, I think, an AWA. Another one was the JVC, and the last and best was a Toshiba. Yeah, Rob, you got a Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. Congratulations there. Wonderful experience on an AWA Walkman player. I'm not even sure I've ever seen an AWA. The PBRSTG, Gilles, is the eclipse in April going to affect radio reception? It might, yes. Let's talk about that a little bit. I'm just going to start the Slow Scan TV software to decode some of the pictures. And we're going to talk about that. It's coming up soon. I mean, we started February, so it's 2 months away. 2 months away. Here in Montreal, we're in the totality. Will be, I hope the sky is going to be clear on April 8th, because, I mean, this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance here for the total eclipse of the sun that's going to be crossing Montreal. Actually, just the south part of the island, Montreal, but I'll be going to the South Shore to extend the time of the totality. Here, where I am, where I live, I think we're in totality, but it's going to last like 30 seconds. If I go down to the South Shore, it's going to last about 1 minute and 25 seconds. So I want to have as long totality as possible. I mean, once again, once in a lifetime thing here. There we go. There we go. Slow scan TV decoding. So on shortwave, I'm not sure to what extent there could be a difference. Maybe on the low frequency ranges, but on medium wave, you know what? I think that there could be some DX opportunities there. And one of the things also that will make it an opportunity is that a lot of stations in totality on the AM band are going to still be running their daytime high power. Could be an occasion to hear stations we don't hear usually. So definitely there's going to be something happening with propagation. I know that total eclipse of the sun do affect, because I mean, where the moon will cover the sun, the ionosphere is going to change because it's not getting the solar radiation. So definitely is going to be interesting. Vault says last year here, while outside city, we had 3 days without power after 24, 36 hour. LTE towers in the area went down. So no communications whatsoever. Burned through all of my reserves of generator gasoline. So, when something like that happens, that's where it shows us that being too dependent on our technology is a huge problem when something goes bad. And unfortunately, we have this habit, especially if you live in a big city, you feel even more immune to those types of problems. And yet, we're vulnerable. If things go bad, the weather goes bad, we are vulnerable. And unfortunately, things are forgotten. You know what? My next door neighbor, we talked about it a couple of days later. She realized she didn't have an AM FM radio in their home. And so, of course, I told her that if she needs a radio, I got a lot of them. But it made her realize that she didn't have a radio and that it could have been useful. So, Darren Rogers, Joe, suggestion. I would like to hear more about how you feed the coax through your window and into your FTDX10 with your end-fed antenna so that you can still close it in cold weather. Well, here's the thing. It's actually not totally closed. I had two choices here because, a friend of mine told me, he says, yeah, just drill a hole in the wall and pass the coax, But I don't want to do that. So what I do, so because it's a transceiver, you can't do too many, extra connections everywhere. So what I did is I keep the window open just enough for the coax to go through, but I have foam insulators, like a couple of inch thick foam insulators that I put on the window. And when I shove the window closed against the cable, the foam insulation prevents the cold air from outside seeping inside. So it's not perfect because, yes, I feel that it's a little colder, but it's better than having the windows totally, 1 inch open just because of coax going through. But that's the way it's working here. I probably can show you guys. I don't know if you guys are going to see it. So if you look at the corner, look at that. You could see the cables going through right here. And this black thing that's seeping out, and actually there's on both windows, is the coax. It's the foam insulation. So it gives me the possibility to put the wires outside and limit the cold air coming in as much as possible. And it prevents me from having to use some sort of, because, there are flat connectors that are made for, like, especially if you got windows that shut down, like, up and down like this. There are flat connectors that actually can be used. and I know some people use that, but I didn't want to, alter the wire or anything, and I'm not squeezing it too much either because don't want to damage the coax. But 3 antenna cables are going out there. My transceiver for the end fed in the backyard, and it goes all through the side of the house. So my end fed is, this coax is 75 feet long, goes from the radio through the window, all the side of the house to the end fed in the backyard that's near my balcony and the top floor. And it works great. And the other ones for the MLA, there's one for the MLA 30 that comes in and feeds my multi-coupler, where I can actually plug up to 4 radios on it, SDRs, portables, whatever. And the other one is it's used only in the summer. What I've decided to do, because I got really bad reception on the front balcony, it's just too noisy, even with a portable. So what I did is I have this coax that goes to the balcony in front. If I desire to listen to radio in an evening, summer evening outside, I just plug the cable to my multi-coupler, and it gives me access to my MLA 30 from my front balcony using that other coax. So that's the way it's set up there. In the back, I do have the VHF antenna. The VHF antenna in the back, the door in my back is just, there's so much space in the bottom of it that I can actually just feed a coax through it and it's okay. I can shut the door and it's fine. I could have had it fixed, but I don't want to have it fixed because for me, I rather have the capability of having wires going outside easily than, I cope with the fact that it probably costs a little more on my heating bill, on my electricity bill, actually, because this heating here is electricity. But I deal with, I know it's fine. I'd rather deal like that. So that's the way I do it here. Tim B, nice to have you here from the Netherlands. Jim Gordon, anyone remember when Radio Berlin International used to transmit CW under its shows on 7300? Tibet Ostrowski, no, I think the Québécois Pirate broadcast in French. It was a French broadcast from the description I saw. Hunter's Crafters, how old of a cat do you think Mignon was? Well, I started thinking about that. I found the first ever picture that I took of her before she came here. And it's October of 2017, which means it's a little more than 6.5 years-ish. So if we take that, she probably was, I don't think she was that old, but maybe she was 7, 8 years old, 8, 9 years old. Maybe she was older than we actually knew. Cats, there are old cats that don't really show their age. We don't know. She didn't seem to be that old, but it's like Paul. I don't know the exact age of Paul because it's a lost cat found by my next door neighbor in the day. And that's been here for, in June, Paul the cat will have been here 9 years now. So 9 years plus before, he's maybe 11-ish, 12 years old, possibly. He sleeps more. I notice he sleeps more. I know it's older cats sleep more, but but it's difficult to know. But I don't think Mignon was as old as Paul. I think she kind of died young, technically, but it's relative, because if you look at statistics, Mignon is a outdoor cat. She lived outdoor most of the time. In the winter, she was here inside, but in the summertime, she spent 80% of her days outside, if not more. And in statistics, if you look at cat um, life expectancy, you see that outdoor cats' life expectancy is like 7 or 8 years, where indoor only cats, it's like 16 years or 15 years or something. So there's a huge difference between an outdoor and an indoor cat. So technically, she's in the statistic of the outdoor cat because she could get sick, she could get all sorts of things. Never brought her to the vet. It would have been almost impossible to do so. I mean, I can't even imagine how I would have put her in a carrying case to bring her to a vet. So I don't know. Guitar Man, we have some good AM stations here in Southern Ontario, especially for anyone commuting into Toronto. We rely on traffic reports. CFTR 680 is one of them. All news, traffic, and weather. So that's something missing here in Montreal. On the AM bands, we don't have that. Mike Jam, nice to have you here. Get WBZ 1030 Boston's on the AM in New Hampshire. Do you get it too? Yep, it's a dominant. Here in Montreal, WBZ 1030 is dominant. Bloomberg 1130 is dominant in New York. What else? We have WCBS dominant on 880. We have WABC dominant 770. We have quite a few dominant stations that are heard here. Rob's Radio Channel. Heard electric cars are bad news. I heard they catch fire. They don't catch fire more than any other cars. That's baloney. A gas-filled car catches fire really easily in an accident. I think that you got to put things in perspective. They don't catch fire more than it's more of the those that don't like EVs that try to propagate fake news on it. A lot of that. It's like changing the battery. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, you got to change that battery. No, a electric car battery is guaranteed 10 years and is actually manufactured for 20 to 25 years. Actually, in 20 years, it's supposed to still have more than 75% of its capacity. No, you don't change the battery of an electric car. If you do, because there was a fault, you do not change electric car batteries. That is also fake news. So there's a lot of things like that people pick up here and there, but no, it isn't. For the rest, is it better? Is it not better? Debate and all sorts of things are said here and there. But in terms of catching fire, not more than any other car. In terms of changing battery, no, you don't change the battery of an EV. The car is going to be, the life of the car is going to be over before you change the battery. When you see somebody that has to change the batteries because something wasn't right, it's not supposed to be the case. KW1161, nice to have you here from Tucson, Arizona. Matt says if you're into sports but not into paying for bad cable TV deals, AM radio is indispensable. But you also have to be in the city. Yeah, here there is a sports station. I would guess because here we have a dominant Anglo station, English language station, CJ 8800. It's the most popular English radio station in Montreal. But it caters for a very small audience on the West Island of Montreal mostly. And every time I listen to it, and any decent and not mental person will tell you it's a horrible station to listen to. It's like it's always the same old stuff of angry people trying to always get back into all the crap stuff. 690 is the sports station. I would guess it probably has some audience. What's sad here and that I hate we do not have reports anymore. We used to have the reports of numerous, which would tell us the ratings, the radio ratings. It was fun because on the International Radio Report, we would talk about it all the time. What are the most popular Anglo and Francophone stations in Montreal, and so on. This public information is not available anymore. And I think it should, because I think any radio station on the public airwaves we should have the numbers. And the reason for, now any station can say, oh, we're number one. We have no way of saying if it's true or not. We guess it's true or we guess it's not, but we now don't have the statistics, so we can't say it's true or not. So that's the bad part of things, and only stations get their ratings now, which is dumb. So we'll see. Tim B, what do you find more balance in receive 9-1 long wire loop on the ground or an MLE30? Thanks. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because on receive, the mismatch and the balanced stuff isn't that important. It has a little bit of effect, but not enough on receive to make a difference. MDK2, agree about the talk radio on AM Rachel. It's been a very one-sided for ages. Yeah. Hey, Seven Templar, nice to have you here. And enter too soon. Now have 2 unit in BC 980 SSBCBs. One in my shack. And the second in the car in Oregon, Duck Football Green. Cool. It's a great little rig, actually. It's really a great little rig. I wish the display, because you know what? I see a lot of complaints about the display. It's the number one complaint, I think, of the radio. I don't think the display gets darker over time. I think it's just never been very bright. It's the only thing I hate about it. If it would have been brighter, it would have been nice. But hey, because you can't see it when it's when it's sunny or in the daylight, you don't see much. And at night it's fine, but it's the only drawback I have of that Uniden CB. But you always found out that the lamp in his room produces interference. Absolutely, it's possible. SWL signal question: does anyone remember Slidell, Louisiana Marine Station WNU? I've been hearing it on 8749 kHz. Didn't this station stop transmitting longer like WLO? A lot of stations are still registered on their frequencies, and WLO has been heard recently. It's not totally zero. It has at times been transmitting, I've heard it here, been transmitting weather broadcast information. So it seems that they kind of stopped the standard broadcast that they do, but they've replaced it with kind of shorter little marine warnings and broadcasts here and there. But they're not zero. I mean, if you look at the FCC's information about registered stations, you'll see that they are still registered with their frequencies even today. So they're not totally gone. King of DXing, especially a chair that causes a waffle print. Gary 24 fan. So KW1161 bought a pillow for the ass, which actually does work, definitely. Gary 24 fan says, I mostly just listen to AM radio at night to see what I can pick up from where. I don't care about the content. Yeah, well, that's pretty much what I do too, but Jasmine, nice to have you here. Secret Labs makes great comfortable gaming chairs made for people who sit for hours. So cool. Cool. What else do we want? I'll try to catch up. Now I'm farther behind. Yeah, there's been a lot of SSTV broadcasts in the last just few minutes. It doesn't stop. KD9 UPB. I don't know if you guys see anything yet. KD9 UPB. Anything else I can check out? There's been tons of them here. We go to history. And bring up the history. And go here. I can't keep them. What else have we got? The clear ones. There's another one. There's another one. Anything else? There's a very clear one that I got. Once again, from KD9 UPV. Look at that. Pretty clear SSTV decodes there. Okay. Yeah, good chairs aren't cheap. When you want to have a good chair, you have to pay for it. Definitely. What else do we have? Yeah, well, WLO will not be on Morse code or stuff like that. You won't have CW, but WLO will still has bulletins from time to time. So the laptop power supplies are always a big problem, and running on battery is no solution because it will run out of power too fast. Yeah, and different models of laptops and power supplies have different effects. Some are quiet, some are not. Unless you could try it before you buy, it's very difficult. But try to put chokes or ferrites on the power supply cable. MDK2 says, "Yep, 14230 can be crowded with SSTV." Yeah, a lot today. Actually, a lot today. So let's go down. Are the power supplies of normal computers better than laptop power supplies? Not always. It depends. If you mean like desktops, it could be, it could not. Because, I've had some very quiet supplies on Toshiba laptops. No, they don't make laptops anymore, but on Toshiba laptops, I used to have very, very quiet, very, very quiet power supplies with them. It depends on the model. James Farley, is Spectrum Monitor better than monitoring times? It's equivalent. It has the feel and the look and the information pretty much of monitoring times. I would say that it's monitoring times in digital format. RJ Dakota, AWA is still around, but the company currently has a small shortwave portable that is actually a Texan receiver that is rebranded. Stereo speakers on front. Oh, that's interesting. Interesting. Too bad my iPad can't run YouTube and SSTV programs simultaneously. Yeah. Okay, let's check it out. Go to the email here. BT Radio calling CQ on 14214 as Alpha 1 Sugar Uniform Sierra Uniform. Just check it out here. Here we go. My mobile station. And here is the pictures download. Check it out. So, oh, this is cool. So here's our friend Summon Templar mobile setup. This is for the ham gear. And this is for the Uniden CB gear. Whoa. Almost lost you guys. Keyboard was going off. And this is the Uniden stack. Right here. So pretty nice stuff. Pretty nice stuff. Pretty cool. Thanks for sharing. Some nice pictures here. Nice gear. Rob says few bugs on S24 compared to S22. What else do we have? Shell has extra radios. Yeah. Thank you, Lord Kitchener, for the tip. Much appreciated. Matt, last fall I was working the election here, and it was the same time as the World Series. Someone wanted to get it for free, and I told her to listen on the radio, but she hadn't none. Yeah, and I think that's more and more common. People not having a radio in their home. I can tell you that. Giovanni, M7 DNU. Are you familiar with the Satcom sats in the Brazilian parts or QO100M satellite? Yeah, I've seen a lot of reports on those Brazilian pirates on Satcom satellites. Here I don't hear much of that. I don't know if it's being very like more northerly or something, but and QO100, I've never actually. It's been a long time since I've listened and monitored amateur radio satellites. Thank you, Lord Kitchener. Much appreciated. SWL signals. I heard WLO on 8788 with a female synthetic voice weather forecast recently. Yeah, they have some regular stuff there. Giovanni has an Ellen and Yagi pointed at Satcom. Yeah, that's why you hear them so well. Matt says you pretty much have to take a cat to the vet to get any idea if you don't know their age. And even then, they can give you a ballpark figure at best. You know what? I've learned that when I got Paul the cat to the vet. Paul the cat, he had no idea. He took my number. Because when I took Paul the cat to the vet the first time, because I wanted to have the chip so that we can identify him if he gets lost or something. And he asked me what age, and I said I don't know. And I explained the story. And I remember back then I told him I would guess around 7 years old, and when I looked at all the details of what he filled out, he just put 7. And it was like, yeah, you don't even know. You're not better than me. You don't even know. You just took my number. So, the vet can tell you what age. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe some vets are better. Well, it's like doctors. There are probably some vets that are better than others. But I don't know. Keegan, 10 years in April for his orange cat Tom Tom. Wow. Boyd Mason Link, nice to have you here. Nice to have you on board. The show now is only the first Saturday of the month, so that's why maybe you've been missing it. Jay Dakota had our kitty for 20 years now. Wow. There's other crafters. Best friend's cat lived to 18. Always indoors. So pretty cool. Tasso V, believe it or not, I was watching a video not that long ago about the longest living cat that lived to 30 plus years of age. Yeah, I've seen a couple of those record breaking cats. It's like the dogs. It's like crazy. David Conti, does anybody know if the low power station at 1710 kilohertz went off the air? It's located in New Jersey, but I'm not picking up anymore in the Bronx. Huh. Rush Time Machine. Tune my D808 to 14230. Can I decode stuff with the FLDG app on my cell? Rookie here. On the smartphone, you have a few. If you have an iPhone, you can get the SSTV decode app from Black Cat Systems. On Android, you can get Robot 36 is one of the apps to decode SSTV. Tasso also has 9 birds, budgies. Last year, 4 of them were born, and they were so precious. I had bird at. Maybe you guys have seen it in the first videos that I did when I started the channel. I had a cockatiel. Maybe you guys have seen the cockatiel. He lived up to 25 years, and sometimes we say things happen in a particular way and or for a reason. When the cockatiel died, it was November of 2014. And Paul the cat appeared in my life in June of 2015. I never thought I'd have another animal. I mean, I never had a cat before, and I never had a dog. Not because I don't like him. I actually love him, but it was like, you got to understand that when you get an animal, you got to take care of it, and it's for life, and it has, it will be something to think about if you want to go on vacation and all sorts of things like that. So when the cockatiel passed away, I was like, well, it's kind of, you're free. You don't have to deal with an animal. But Paul arrived, and Paul was so great and so beautiful. And so, yeah, okay. Yeah. And then Mignon, of course, which was kind of a abandoned cat, basically. So, and you get there and you're like, but every time, like when Mignon died, first thing I thought is, oh man, when Paul dies, I don't want to have animals anymore. It's just too difficult to deal with the fact they die, you know. So I mean, I was very sad with Mignon. I know I'll be 10 times more sad. I'm going to cry my heart out when Paul dies because he's my cat. He's the cat, and he's extremely affectionate. So it's I know that's gonna hurt me a lot more. Jim Lash, nice to have you here from Oregon. Got a Malahite SDRV5, very interesting portable spectrum and HF feature. Make it fun to use. I think it's the future of portables. Um, why do you leave out the gramophone speakers? I don't get it. What do you mean? John Tempa. Okay. We just try to get here. Blogger Die, nice to have you on board. Laura Robinson, nice to have you on board. Never get any SSTV from my QTH in the UK. Oh, you should get some. 14230, tune 14230. In the daytime, you will get some. There's some from everywhere. I need to start doing some again. I made a lot of SSTV contacts and made many with Europe. Made many with Europe. Radio Kid, nice to have you on board. Jasmine, yeah, well, already desktop computers are kind of not that popular, but there will always be a category of people that like them and need them, and I know gamers will always be fond of desktop for the possibility and easy possibilities of upgrading the graphics card and so on. But I've moved on to laptops and mini PCs, and I do not plan buying a desktop anymore. Seven Templar, my base CB antenna is an Antron 99. So, one thing for sure also is that a lot of people notice that they don't need a computer. I don't know how many people I know around me that don't have computers. They do everything online with their smartphone. And they have a smart TV if they need to have Netflix and all this stuff. So, I think it's for a lot of people, a computer is not something you want. I even look at people with computers sometimes and I'm like, why do you have a computer? You could do that with other stuff. You could do that with an iPad or whatever, They are computers still. Let's be fair, but not what we call a computer by the standard of a desktop laptop. Radio Kid says, recently got a Texan PL365. So far, I really like it. Wanted AA bats. LC65, maybe the radio that goes to the nursing home with me. Should be able to find AA batteries forever. That is a definite, positive for sure. VOA radiogram. Nice to have you here. The IKEA Marcus is a nice shack office chair for $289. Its bottom cushion will get rather flat after about 3 years. Sheldon Harvey, bonjour, hi. Nice to have you on board from Greenfield Park, Quebec. So it's been a while since I've tuned into a VOA radiogram. I need to check the schedules when they're on, or if you want to share it, Kim. If you want to share the schedule, the times and the frequencies we can hear your radiogram, please do so. It'll be great. Tasso, by the way, everyone, subscribe to the International Radio Report if you haven't. Good stuff. And I realized I wasn't subscribed, so I did. Go to the radio news. Matt says, I still somewhat adjusting to the demise of the iPod. Everyone after streams or they carry their music libraries on their phones since they now have storage capacity for them. Yeah. I mean, it's because of what I do that I have all of these PCs. Because honestly, if I wouldn't do YouTube stuff, would I have a PC? I'd have a gaming PC, and that would be my only thing with a smartphone. I would not have all of the technology that I got here. personally. Um, Jasmine, I remember that bird. I always find it odd when someone has a cat and a bird in the same house. Yeah, well, in my case, there was a time difference. Paul never was in the same time period as the cockatiel. So, but I would have been curious. I always thought, be curious. Would Paul have reacted with a bird in the house? Would have been interesting. Oh yeah, cats choose their humans. I can tell you that. Dan Robinson, yeah, the Choyung Internet Shortwave Portable thing. Um, you know, I looked at it. I look at some of the reviews. Like I saw that video that's a lot of people view that says the best shortwave portable ever. Huh? Yeah. Okay. So it's your opinion. Here it would cost 360-ish Canadian dollars to get one, which for me is too expensive. Especially with the fact that the portable doesn't have single sideband. It's clearly made just for international broadcasts and shortwave. It's an internet radio. I mean, the idea behind it, I like. I think it is cool to have. It would be cool to have an hybrid radio that does internet radio and um, shortwave. More complete, shortwave including single sideband. Why not go all the way? I'd be curious. What I'm curious about this because I've seen 4 different guys talking about it. One mentioning that it was noisy on the lower frequencies, including on medium wave, with internal circuits noise. I'm always very wary and very skeptical of other people's reviews for a simple reason because I like my own reviews because I actually know what I'm talking about and actually compare it to something, know what I'm looking for, and know how it should perform and be like. When I see somebody saying it's the best shortwave radio he's ever had, but doesn't really talk about shortwave radios that much, yeah, I'd like to see somebody else's opinion. But it is definitely an interesting radio. I'm curious, and I would see myself. It's in connected radio too, which is interesting. I mean, it connects to your Wi-Fi and actually even syncs the clock with internet time. It's like, okay, this is very interesting hybrid thing. Um, and yeah, I could see myself using one of those. We'll see. We'll see as time goes by if there's anything else. I've seen one guy that had to return it 2 times because the 2 first ones kind of broke down kind of quickly. So I don't know. I don't know if you are going to get your hands on one or anything. But it is definitely interesting. It's definitely interesting. Matt, I'm not sure it's possible to buy a new TV that's not a smart TV. Yeah, I think they're pretty much all smart TVs today. Yeah. Yesterday on my 80s show, I was talking about the prices of items from 1982. And I actually found the prices in a newspaper ad. We could buy a 20-inch color TV, which was the big CRT TVs in 1982, for $500, which comes up to, with inflation, to something like $1,000 today. And I'm like, wow, for $500, we get a 50-inch TV today, and it's a smart TV. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. Radio Kid, I found desktops hold up longer than laptops. I haven't found that. I've been using laptops for a long time now. For me, laptops last as long as desktops. You just got to be careful how you handle it, basically. Okay. Frank's phone speaker. Okay. I get it now. Oh, man. Vlaltz, if they release a fantastic wideband SDR that required PCI Express slots, you would change your mind. Yeah. I've got my Sanji and WFR32, which I like. Has amazing sound. Jasmine, I created an AI which sounds just like a human and listens. In theory, I could have her make ham contacts if I had a license, and no one would know she isn't me. Since she has my voice, legal? Technically, no, because the operator needs to be there. It's not illegal to use an artificial voice to do the ham contacts. If you have your license, I do not believe. What is illegal is that if you would leave and do something else and let an AI do it for you, that would make it illegal because there's no operators in the place where all of this is happening. Jim Gordon, a rest home for the Xers. Oh, dang. Our Simmers walkers would have telescopic aerials. Imagine the arguments over radios. I would imagine, Jim, I would imagine it's like I got the copper walker because when I clip my radios telescopic to it, it receives better than the aluminum one. Oh, man. Dan Robinson, a great future versions perhaps would have SSB. Farm Point Farms is an interesting review, but over the top. Yeah. Yeah. I would have to get a hold of the radio myself and test it myself to. I don't take that review very seriously personally. But I am intrigued totally about the device. That for sure. That for sure. The 360 Canadian, kind of hard. It's a hard sell. Yeah, that's more what it sounds like. Archer's Crafter's kitchen. It's not kind of a objective, serious review. Really, kid, has anybody ever gotten something like Droid RTTY on a Kindle Fire? I know it's got to be sideloaded in a Kindle. Yeah, I got all of those on my. Well, yours is on a Kindle Fire, but I got it. I have a Fire tablet. This is an Amazon tablet. This is a 10-inch. And what I did is I did all the stuff. Actually, what I did is get all this stuff so I could get the actual Google Play Store on it. If you go online and just search for Kindle Fire Google Play app, and look at that. I got the actual Google Play Store on it. Now you get all the apps that you want. You don't have to. You sideload the app. You sideload that, but after that, you don't have to sideload anymore because you can get the apps from the Google Play Store direct. Yeah, same here, Hook 911. If it would have been complete general coverage, single sideband, now at 360, considering it's an internet radio, so it has a lot of electronics in it. I would have started thinking, okay, what I do? What I do? Jasmine, wow, 20 inches. Yeah. Man, back in the day, 20 inches was like a standard, you know? If it was not 20, you had a 26. I remember we had a color 26 for a while, but then we got back to a 20-inch. TVs were expensive back then. Blogger Daddy Radio I'm interested in and have an order is the Kudosin SR286. Radio J. Allen said is the best on FM that it's seen on a portable. It also allows external jack for medium wave, long wave, but no SSB. Okay. KW61 says it is bad that the TV is smarter than me. Take care, OG Railways in Germany. Kevin Michael got Bear Island Radio Norway 12 midnight my time on 1270 kilohertz via Kiwi SDR. NHK Japan Yamata 7225 at 7 a.m. King of the Extra, I got a 13-inch Sony Trinitron from eBay for $200 in January 2022. RFPI, Radio for Peace International. Bonjour, bienvenue. Nice to have you on board. Bienvenue. Et toujours un plaisir de vous avoir parmi nous. Blogger Die says uses NXP TF6686 DSP chip designed for car radios. Huh. Yeah, the Sony Trinitron were the best. My uncle that repaired radio TVs for a while, then VCRs until it wasn't much of a thing. I remember telling me all the time that the Sony Trinitron were the best made televisions. What else do we have? Going down here slowly. Jasmine says she likes coming here, hearing how different stuff was before I was born. Yeah. Radio Kid says, cool, thanks. Now I know Kindle will do that too. Yeah. Just search for the instructions on how to install a Google Play Store. And then you'll have no problem. You'll be getting any Android app from the Google Play Store that everybody else has. So that's great. I mean, this is the reason I bought this 10-inch tablet, because of course I did want it for reading magazines and books, but I also wanted something that I knew I could, install anything on. And for price versus performance, once you install the Google Play Store, this was hard to beat. And I love it. And I've owned it now I think I've owned it for 2 years now, at least. This actually, I bought it the day it came out, this 10-inch, and the Fire tablet. And I had a special deal. Amazon came up in an email and said, look, you've been a customer for a long time. This is the price we're going to give you. If you want to buy it, immediately the day it's going to come out. And I mean, it was like almost half price compared to what they sell it now. So I thought, okay, I want to have a tablet. I wanted one for a long time. So when they gave me that deal, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then I looked, and it's like, oh, I can install the Google Play Store, which is a lot more interesting than the Amazon App Store that lacks a lot of good apps. So I thought, yeah, okay, that's a good deal. I'm going to have a good tablet, and I enjoy this tablet a lot. I've been using it regularly, and many videos you might see that I've been decoding digital modes with the tablet, actually, using just the microphone of the tablet close to the radio, like weather facts, stuff like that. Navtex transmissions, too. John Tampa, I have an XH Data D808, so will the time correct itself if I leave it on an FM station with RDS? Yes, it should. I don't remember if you have to turn on the feature or not, though. But it should. And other catch, the RDS a station on FM with the RDS needs to have the time. A lot of stations on RDS, because there's several different ways on RDS to see information when you press the info button. The RDS on that station needs to be capable of doing it. Not every station has the timestamp that RDS requires to fix the clock. You have to find the station that has it in your area. But it should correct itself automatically on the D808. Sheldon Harvey working on the February 2024 CIDX bulletin. Should be ready for distribution in a couple of days. So, what is for dinner after the show, says Brad Shaver. I have some dumplings. I have some dumplings with peanut sauce and spring rolls. That will be my after the show. This will be my after the show food. Let me just check it out here. Michael tried out a massage chair last week. Locked down my legs. I felt like I got beaten up. I like that. Oh, man. You know, I had a 26-inch, 27-inch Sony Trinitron here, which I got rid of because it was just too big. And, you know, I had to take a decision of, you know, what do I throw out because I got too much stuff. It broke my heart to throw it out. It would work great, and I mean, it was for the old computers. It was nice, but the problem is, I ended up looking at the old computers. It's kind of cool, but the Amiga 500 was the biggest problem. The Amiga 500 can switch from PAL to NTSC depending on the game asking it to do so. And what happened is that Amiga 500 was more popular in Europe than here. So a lot of games switched to PAL. And what happened is I noticed that, well, smart TVs can adapt to that. If the signal goes to PAL, the smart TV switches. And I can still, you know, play the games and do what I want. So the image on a smart TV, yes, it's not as beautiful. Because on the smart TV's resolution, the old computers look crappy. And they look better on a CRT because the CRT is crappy, so it just looks good. It's weird to say, but that was the case. But when I saw that only smart TVs were keeping the image on some of the games, I thought, well, I'm going to switch to the smart TV, you know, and keep it like that. Kevin Michael, I missed TVDX on 45 to 87 megahertz. Got TV New Zealand 1, 45 and 46 megahertz with Brisbane, Queensland. Wow. Still a lot of SSTV on 14230 right now. David had 2 Trinitrons in my life over time. Smaller one at home that had to be replaced by the Philips CRT, and a bad tech got the TV back to us without the tuner module on the board. And a bigger one in my grandparents' house, that one still exists and should also still work. So crazy, eh? Like Blogger Dice says, for the D808 to automatically set the time, you have to enable the setting, tune to FM station, and it has to carry time information. So not all FM stations carry it, definitely. Got one here. So 6950, I guess it's still radio free, whatever. Still there. What else do we have? Let's go down. Try to get to there at some point. Take care, Rouse Radio Channel. Sheila, what's your thoughts on satellite radio? Is it a waning fad? Actually, Sirius XM is getting, I believe, more and more customers all the time. I think Sirius XM is a good thing on, especially for cars, because wherever you are, it works. As long as you're not deep in the forest with the car, but usually you're on a road. So it doesn't require any streaming of cellular type or whatever. So it has an advantage over all the rest because of that. And it has a lot of customers. So I don't think it's waning. And I think where this is getting popular is really in the car. Cool, John, Tampa, Florida. Kevin Michael been monitoring weather facts on 8 megahertz via the QESDR at 12 in the afternoon. Is it okay to heat spring rolls in the winter? Yeah, why not? Next month, Rob, I'm going to be back only next. Oh, well, yeah. Okay. On the Zoom. Yeah. Sorry. You're part of the Zoom. I forgot. Once again, I'll mention it again. If you guys want to be part of the Zoom that's coming up next week on February 10th, 20 hours UTC, you have to have made a donation in any way to the channel, either through Super Chat here, or maybe you've given, some people give a little amount when they see a video they like. Or, once again, with the PayPal, let me just get back here. PayPal, you can send a donation to the email that's here. And what's going to happen is that make sure that I have your email address so that I can send you the link to get into the Zoom meeting next Saturday at 20 hours UTC. So next Saturday, February the 10th is our next Zoom for contributing members. René Charbonnier, nice to have you here from the Netherlands. Nice to have you here. So spring rolls for the Winterfest will be great. Jasmine says, I like the Get Me Radio app on smart TVs and Roku Fire, etc. There's stations on it I've never seen anywhere, including one which is role played like it's broadcast from 100 years in the future. Oh, that's interesting. There's a lot of stuff when you look at it. Honestly, it's just amazing. Ken Michael had a Panasonic TV in the 1980s and 1990s that I used for TVDX. It was great. I had a black and white. I would use a black and white. It was a black and white 20-inch that my parents had lying around. And it that was what I was using back then to receive the TVDX stuff. It was a lot of fun. Ken Michael, what do you think of internet radio? Well, it's part of radio. It's part of ways you can listen in. I've got my Sanji and WFR32. I use it several times a week. I stream some stuff from it. I will stream some mostly music channels, but I'll stream some stations. I sometimes use it to stream WVPR station, WVPS in Burlington, Vermont for the NPR stuff. Sometimes stream BBC World Service or Radio France. These are a few. Radio Australia. I kind of like that. It's part of the entertainment, and I think you have to be happy and not poo poo anything. So too many people are kind of not happy. MDK2, I rented a car last summer with Sirius XM and I would lose the signal in tunnels. Well, yeah. Yeah, you do, of course, in tunnels. But you do not live in a tunnel with your car usually. It's just a few minutes. Oh, man. Keegan the Extra, Panasonic CT 3012 from early 1980s. Pretty cool. Jim Gordon, IT had a Sony Trinitron TVs. They had such sharp and vivid pictures. Yeah. My last one lasted 25 years and got replaced because of the move to digital. Kamikaze 76, nice to have you on board from West Michigan. No problem. Yeah. Ajay Dakota, I like internet radio, but it has its specific uses. I like listening to some stations that I already really like and that aren't really available on regular radios. Yeah. Really could. I used to travel a lot for work and rent cars with satellite radio. In my opinion, sat radio fidelity is terrible, worse than FM. So, yeah, AM radios fade out in tunnels and under power lines and stuff like that. Definitely. King and DX remembers DVDXing Oklahoma City code channel with local semi-locals on 51334. Oh, man. Guitar Man, Jill, have you heard the buzzer lately other than a few weeks ago when a few of us heard it? I haven't tried this week. I was surprised a few weeks ago. The buzzer usually is I hear it maybe from an hour to 2 hours at a time, then fades out. I was surprised that I left the radio on. I left the SDR on. And I tuned it in at like 0 UTC. And when I was doing some other stuff, I came back and at 05 UT, it was still on. I was still hearing the buzzer. I was like, wow, I heard it all evening. That was unusual. But yeah, I haven't tried. Let's try it now. I wonder if it's going to make it. Doesn't seem to be making it now. Let's try it on the ICOM. I can't hear anything tonight. I wonder if let's try something here. I'm gonna feel R36 is on. No. So no buzzer, no LRE36, no nothing right now. So I guess propagation is not there. I'm going to try a few days this week. I'll try it a little later today also. See if I can hear it. And things like Neuralink implants, could future radio be listening to with no radios at all? Like Gilligan in Gilligan's Island with his teeth failing. Yeah, who knows? Who knows the future? Kevin Michael, I was on long wave tune 337, 353. I've not been hearing radio beacons for a week. Yeah, a lot of them are being decommissioned, and so it could be possible that some of them that are heard are suddenly off. DX Info Center list by William Hepburn is pretty good and fairly accurate. And he has a lot of the dates of decommission of some of those long wave non-directional beacons. I mean, in the next 3 years or so, they're all going to be gone, or pretty much all going to be gone. There won't be much left. Guitar Man, the night you heard it a few weeks ago was the first time I heard it here. I've been trying for years. Yeah, it was probably a unique moment that was pretty good for it. It's a tough one. The buzzer is a tough one. And even I will receive it maybe a couple of times during a certain period of time. February, March should normally bring us the buzzer a little more before going to summer, where usually I don't hear it at all from. Here the buzzer, I'll hear it from maybe late September to up to maybe March, April. That's the time frame where I hear it. What's interesting about last time, I usually don't get it in the winter, the deep of winter. So like January, usually, I think it was the first time in January I heard the buzzer. I usually hear it more like February or March and October, November, things like that. Not in the deep of winter. Like I don't hear it in summer. So that was also unusual. So, but it should also come back. I'll be trying regularly. It's just a buzz, but there's something about it that's like, oh, look at that. I'm hearing the buzzer from St. Petersburg, Russia, kind of cool. I always try also, because when you try the buzzer, you want to try RWM time signal. So here I'm going to try it with, am I hearing? So I'm not hearing RWM time signal on 4996. Nor am I hearing it on 9996, which usually comes in here too. So my guess is that propagation to Russia isn't that great tonight, honestly. Jasmine, can you see a use for the spectrum vacated by the long wave beacons? Could a hobbyist broadcast service in North America be proposed there? Yeah, as they all go, I don't know what could be proposed there. There's other stuff in the bands. I mean, there's some amateur radio experimenting stuff there. The higher part of the band still has marine Navtex transmissions. I don't know if there would be a possibility of, at some point in time, changing the purpose of a band, that's a big, big, big step already, doing something like that. I don't know. I don't know if it would, I think it's going to become one of those abandoned frequency ranges where not much is happening, more than anything else. But hey, blog or die, Borg Radio. King and DXer after 2009, Channel 3 was usually HBC, Mexicali, Baja California, Mexico. So pretty interesting. Oh man, I remember those DX. One that I have to do again, and I haven't heard anything last summer, and I need to take the time to do it this summer. Is DX the FM band? When not last summer, but the summer before, I heard that station in Florida making it all the way up here in Montreal. I was so surprised. I had never DX'd an FM station before, and I need to do that. There's not a lot of empty spaces in the FM band in Montreal, but that is something that I definitely need to do. That was so exciting, so exciting. Radio Kid, funny you say Gilligan's Island. I've been seeing a bunch of vintage portable radios come up with in Goodwill auction that are FM, AM, wave, and shortwave from about 1.4 to 3.5 megahertz only, marine band. Oh, that's interesting. Kevin Michael, long wave 280 to 285, East Russia and Tibet. Take care, TVD Extra. Au mois prochain. Toujours un plaisir. So, it's one of those things that is kind of interesting to look at. So, hey guys, I will be saying goodbye for today. We've been on for 3 hours and 2 minutes. I want to eat. I have to edit the International Radio Report show to send into the station for tomorrow. So, all of that means I need to have some time. And I will also be listening to Shortwave Saturday night is my Shortwave night. So, I'll be listening to Shortwave tonight. Maybe up to the wee hours. I don't know. And see what I can hear. And of course, possibly making videos and all of that. So I hope you enjoyed the show today. And we'll be back in the first week, the first Saturday of the first Saturday of March. And for those that have donated, remember, you will be part and invited to the Zoom meeting next Saturday. Thank you so much for the donation and support. And yeah, Ricky, I mean, 2 weeks ago it was 4.9 gigabytes out of 5. I was like, woo, that was a close one. And even last week wasn't that great. Last week was 4.5 out of 5. So I was like, whoa, okay. This is crazy. I don't know why they don't put more space. Man, come on. So take care, everybody. Stay safe. Love you all. And look for the videos I'll be posting during the week and the month. And see you next month. The date, if you want to put it on your calendar, will be March the 9th. Saturday. No, March the 2nd. Sorry. I was on the wrong page. So Saturday, March 2nd is the next show. So that'll be very, very early in the beginning of March. Saturday, March 2nd at 20 hours Universal Time. So take care, everybody. Stay safe and see you soon.